up, guys? It's Tim with Gutter Growth. I got Jacob here with Mr. Pipeline, and we're going to talk a little bit about marketing and websites. So, going on, Jacob. How you doing today?
Hey, it's going great, Tim. I really appreciate you having me on. I know this is the second time now. Always a pleasure connecting with you. I know we've done a lot of stuff together. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to opening up that conversation.
I think a lot of the guys, they get gutters, but we don't have a complete grasp on websites and marketing. And so, I guess we just want to talk a little bit about that. So, you want to start with websites?
Yeah, so we can talk a little bit more about websites. I know we touched on it on the previous podcast, but the idea is, the way the market's moving, there's a couple of factors that you want to take into consideration, right? So the website experience, are we creating a wow factor? Are we incorporating videos? Are we engaging the customer? How are we going to grab their attention once they land on the website? You also want to focus on the quality of the content. So you want to inform the customer. So make sure that, if you have a website and you're just using, AI to write the content, maybe it's not going to sound so great. You want to focus that having the content that actually provides value. That's actually a ranking factor that Google takes into consideration. And then the third checkpoint really is having a mobile-friendly design. I know a lot of guys are using QR codes nowadays, especially, on the trucks, especially on yard signs. If you're driving traffic to a place using a QR code, you got to have a mobile-friendly design. So, the best way to do that is just open up your phone, check out the website, scroll around. Is it easy to navigate, or does it cause frustration? Because the customer is really going to have that same feeling. So put yourself in the customer's shoes with that respect.
So that's interesting. You brought up the mobile, and that made me think. What is the actual stats on that? How many people are looking at mobile versus desktop?
So the shift it sees a greater change every year, right? So maybe 5 years ago, we were at, maybe that 50-50 split, maybe 60-40, leaning a little bit more towards mobile. Now we're upwards of around 75% of people are actually searching for mobile devices. So if somebody's, looking for services in the area, it's likely that they're coming from a mobile device. So you should have a mobile first design instead of putting that secondary within the website build. So if you're thinking about building a website, the first question you should be asking is, okay, what does that mobile design look like? Can you give me a couple examples? Always know what you're getting before, just incorporating or signing up for a service, especially with a website, because, that's the representation of your business online. So you have to have that mobile first design.
This podcast is sponsored by One Gutter Guard, the premium gutter guard that delivers the highest performance, quality, and value to your customers. From its different mesh filters to its unibody construction, One Gutter Guard can be the difference maker in your business. Are you interested in becoming part of the exclusive dealer network? Contact them today at onegutterguard.com or just give them a call. Now back to our show.
So the chance of them getting on their computer nowadays is pretty slim compared to.
It all depends. If somebody's on a desktop computer, it's likely that they're doing research. A lot of times people are just sitting on the couch scrolling on their phones. That's the way it tends to be with research nowadays. It's just so much easier. So you definitely have to have a desktop friendly experience also. And that's where you really should be able to create a wow factor, because you have more real estate to work with on a desktop. So that's when you definitely needed videos. You're going to have faster web speeds as well. So it's just something snappy, I think, is going to be an added benefit there. So you can actually incorporate videos. And one thing that I will explain, if you're doing any sort of videos on a website, and what I'd recommend to a lot of guys in the industry is starting a YouTube channel and creating your own videos and then linking those videos to the website. So we're not front loading the video and all of that workload of the website through the video. We're actually doing that through a secondary platform such as YouTube. So you're not going to affect the website speeds there.
Oh, so if you uploaded a video directly, it's going to slow things down. But
Right.
having
Yeah. So you definitely want to avoid that. Yeah. You definitely want to create that through a YouTube link. You could still watch it as a regular video or behind, the hero image or the homepage of the site. But yeah, you definitely you don't want to front load that. You want it to be through a source such as YouTube.
So a lot of guys, they know they need to get a website and they know they need to find someone, but they're kind of scared of who to use. They've heard a lot of horror stories.
Mhm.
What would you look out for when hiring a SEO company to manage your website?
Yeah. So I would start by asking questions, and I would also start by getting references as well. So if somebody's recommending a company, I would trust more than just one person, get a couple references in that standpoint to make sure that they're a trustworthy company. Just because the name is big doesn't necessarily always mean better. A lot of times you might have a company doing SEO where they might be a big name, but are they really doing a lot of the work on the back end? Maybe they're too big in that sense to really focus on all the new people coming in. So you have to make sure you're working with a reputable company and actually knowing what you're getting. Because with SEO, there's so much work being done in the back end. It's okay, what is this company really doing? So whenever you're having that discussion or exploring different marketing companies, have them break down what's actually being provided. What can I expect on a monthly basis? What sort of growth should I expect? Look into the trends and make sure that you're partnering with somebody that you can trust. You're not just hiring a marketing company, excuse me. You're forming a partnership.
Yeah, because I know before I found Mr. Pipeline, I had a company, I can't remember the name, but they were too big. And so I had like a different person on my account like every other week. It seemed like they had a new person assigned to me. And
Mhm.
so I was never really able to build that relationship to, push everything forward.
Yeah, and that happens from time to time, but it shouldn't be happening all the time, right? There's always changes that happen within a company. There's always, certain people who are going to be even with the company for a very long extended period of time. But that also has to do with the culture of the company, right? If you have a workplace that people enjoy to show up to, their productivity is so much better. So I know a lot of companies may, not have everything done in-house per se. You want to make sure that you have open communication. You want to make sure that it's partnership, that this is something that, I put my trust in because your business should be like your baby. You should be protecting that as much as you possibly can. So, work with a company that you can trust, I say is the best thing.
No, I definitely agree.
Mhm.
So as far as what makes a website good converting, what is a couple things that sticks out that someone can
Yeah.
do to the website to make it convert better?
Yeah, so you want to make it easy for somebody to give you a call. So not only do you want engaging visuals, not only do you want quality content information, you want it to be as easy as possible for somebody to submit a lead. You shouldn't be looking for the quote form. It should always be readily available. So whether you're scrolling on a mobile device, there should be an easy button to click, either to submit a quote or to give a call. If you're doing a landing page, it should be, hyper specific to, what actual service we're targeting. So if somebody sees an ad for gutter installation, but they go to your homepage and maybe it's about all the different services that you offer, we want to be hyper specific. So you want to make sure that you're driving that traffic to a gutter installation page, or if it's, targeting a specific service, the more specific that you are, the more likely you are to convert because you're meeting that customer's needs. So that's a really good standpoint to work from.
How many pages should someone have on a website? Is there like a rule of thumb or?
That's a great question. I've come across that question a few times. So there's no real exact number of pages, but what I will explain is that I see a lot of guys grouping all of their services into one specific page. You want to separate those. So the bottom line of a website, you should have at least, I would say 8 to 10 pages to be effective because the more specific you are, the better the connections that you're forming on Google and the more informing you are to the customer. So I want to see pages for each one of your specific services, a home page, an about us page explaining more about the company, right? You want to be very personable. A gallery page is great, showcasing your work, saying we are proud of the work that we do. The more you're able to provide information to a customer before they actually give you that call, the more likely you are to actually convert that customer.
Yes, I remember I had like different pages for like half round and copper and different
Right.
things. And then when they were searching for it, they would end up on that page.
Mhm.
That way they weren't looking at everything else, getting confused. They were looking at what they already wanted.
Exactly. Yeah. You want to provide them with an ease of experience. They shouldn't be sifting through the content to find, a copper gutter or to find a picture of an installation that you did. That should already be listed if they're doing that search. We should have a page specifically targeting that. But keep in mind, search volume will be less for specific products or services. but there's still a market for those products and services. So we don't want to cut ourselves short there. If you have the ability, create those specific pages. I think it's going to provide a great experience overall. And you're able to form that connection even better, like we were discussing earlier.
What is SEO exactly? Because I know that you have a website, but then you hear this SEO stuff, and that's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
What is it, and like what makes it good or bad? Or
Yeah, so SEO is search engine optimization. It's maximizing your presence online. And I know we touched base on this on the previous podcast also, but it's in a sense, it's establishing connections with your targeted services and your targeted locations. So you want to have a linking structure that abides by that, right? You want to have a city page targeting the city, a service page targeting the service, and those two pages should meet. That's the best way to sort of explain it from a front end point of view. You're also building credibility through, backlinking. So we're telling Google, hey, if your gutter installation service, here's an article that's credible about gutter installation, the pros and cons, informative content. That's a backlink. That's another thing that you're establishing. You're also doing things off the website as well. So you want to make sure that your local citations are all up to par. You don't want to have, one business phone number here, another one over here. I know that doesn't happen a lot, but what people don't really tend to understand is the search engine is an algorithm. It doesn't understand those connections unless you're making them to a T. The stronger that you make these connections and the more specific that you are, and the more consistent that you are, the stronger the results are going to be. So if you're ever looking to invest into SEO, understand what you're getting, that it needs to be more than just, hey, we're going to, just optimize some content here. We're not doing anything off the site. Know exactly what you're getting so that way you can understand on a month-to-month basis, hey, this is what's actually going on. You should also have some sort of reporting as well. Understanding where you're ranking. Are we improving on rankings? Are we staying the same? What's the strategy here to kind of get us in these top positions? And you as the business owner should understand that as well. So the more questions that you ask, I think the better of your understanding will be.
what do you think are the top 3 questions that they should ask a company that they're looking to hire?
Yeah, so how long until I start to see some results? What can I expect in, SEO? What are you actually doing? So those are a couple questions that I hear a lot. Within SEO, the amount of traction that you're able to gain depends on what you have built currently, right? And I know I keep bringing this up, but we did touch base on this slightly on the previous podcast, right? So if you have reviews, a credibility factor, and you have prominence in the area, which means you're already gathering website traffic, and then you invest into SEO, you're going to start seeing results much sooner, right? But if we don't have any online presence, if we're just structuring out a website from the ground up, it's likely going to take much longer to start seeing actual tangible results. The nice thing about SEO is what I try to preach in the gutter industry is that your return on investment improves over time. As your rankings grow, you're getting more website traffic, you're getting more leads, and you're not paying for those leads per se because they're organic, right? And as you start gathering more real estate in these top positions, you're going to start funneling in more and more leads. And then your return on investment, of course, improves over time. Unlike paid advertisements, you shut off that ads campaign, that lead flow will shut off as well, right? With SEO, that's a long-term investment. You have to think about it, hey, this is for the long-term growth for my business instead of, hey, I just need to generate leads in the meantime, right? So it's more so an investment in the way I like to think about SEO as opposed to paid advertising.
So a lot of times I'll see like a guy comment and he'll be like, oh, I just hired a website company and it's been 2 months and I'm not getting any calls. And I'm like, well, it takes some time, but a lot of guys don't know how much time that takes. What do you think is a good sweet spot when you usually start seeing traction with the company on SEO?
Right. So
And
I'll explain the processes because people want instant gratification typically. Patience is definitely key. You want to make sure that you have a strategy that's going to make sense. What's going to be most effective, right? So you have to do research. There has to be a research phase. So typically the first 2 weeks or the first week is when you're gathering all the data, doing all the research on the back end to figure out the strategy. Then as you start implementing the strategy, that's when you start to see the growth. But keep in mind, we can build out new pages on your website. We can form these connections. Google's a very large search engine. It takes roughly a week or maybe even up to 2 weeks to index any new pages that you launch. So by the time you start to see any sort of tangible results, usually you're past that second month, right? You're around that 3 to 6 month mark to where you're really starting to see traffic go. Because at that point, we're able to perform optimizations. We're able to actually start ranking you in these higher positions, figuring out, okay, now we're funneling in the traffic. So I'd say 3 to 6 months is where you'll start to see the difference. 6 months and beyond is where you start to see really noticeable results. And after that year mark, as you are very well familiar with, after a year of investing in SEO, at that point, you've opened up the floodgates, right? You should be seeing keywords absolutely on page 1 of Google. At that point, you should absolutely be seeing your organic traffic, skyrocket compared to where you were that year prior. But you have to have that patience and you have to have the investment. So you have to understand that, hey, this is something that's going to benefit my business, even though after that 2-month period, I'm not seeing the results that I want, because it does take longer than 2 months.
Yeah, absolutely. So no, I agree. And that's kind of what I feel like AdWords is for, like especially in the
Right.
beginning, you could just turn it on and drive traffic to that, to that website.
Yeah, because once you launch an ads campaign, right, that ad's automatically at the top of the search engine, but you're incurring costs every time you get a click. Now, something that I really wanted to bring up here is that if you have the budget, so if you're a larger gutter company, you should be taking advantage of both Google Guaranteed or Google Local Service Ads and Google Advertisements. Those are 2 separate platforms, but those are 2 separate campaigns to display at the top of the search engine. So if you have a large budget to work with, you should be on both Google Guaranteed and Google Advertisements to just absolutely dominate those first 2 sections of Google. Because if they see your name twice there, they're just more likely to choose you if you put yourself in the customer's shoes. They're more familiar. They see the business name twice. Maybe I should give this company a try.
What is Google Guarantee for those who don't know?
Yeah, so it's Google backing your business. So it's actually saying that, hey, if you're not satisfied with the work, you as the customer, we're going to back that. We trust this business and we fully will reimburse you for any of the work. Let's just say something wasn't done right. So it increases your trust factor. You actually have to go through a background check. You have to submit all of, your proper documentation, your paperwork, your insurance, everything to go ahead and pass that background check for Google to understand, okay, this is a credible business. So if you can do all of that within the gutter industry, I would definitely take advantage of it. What I will explain, Google Guaranteed, in order to sign up, it's likely that you're going to have to be under the category of a roofing contractor. So just make sure that you have the proper documentation to go through that background check. But definitely take advantage of it if you can. I know a lot of guys that do, and you'll see great results overall.
So how do they get under that category? Is that under Google My Business when they're
So,
applying for that?
so you have to have the Google My Business page already. And what I will explain with Google Guaranteed is reviews play an important factor for where you're actually being displayed on that list. So Google Guaranteed will showcase typically 2 sponsored ads in the top positions. So if you can pass that background check, you have the reviews. It's actually a separate platform. So you would search up Google Guaranteed, you would do all the proper, documentation, and it's very easy to set up. So this is something that you as a business owner should be doing in-house. It's that easy to set up. You have your targeted services, your targeted locations, and your budget. That's pretty much as in-depth as it gets. You shouldn't have to hire a company to do that. That could be something that you absolutely take care of in-house.
Is the Google local service ads, is that pay per click as well?
So it's pay per lead, but the reason why I say that you should do both is a lot of times when I speak with an individual that's doing local service ads, they're not seeing the lead flow that they're really looking for. Maybe customers don't understand at this point in time, because in the grand scheme of things, it's relatively new, what
Right.
Google Guaranteed actually is. So you should be gathering as much real estate as you can on page 1 of Google, which is why you should be doing both, if you can, Google local service ads and Google advertisements.
You're probably going to get that market of people that already know what it is, and they're only going to go to the Google Guaranteed ones.
Yeah, the point is never sell yourself short. The more a customer is able to find you, the more likely you are to gather that lead. So that's my whole idea is how much real estate can we get on page one of Google? Look at that. There's another opportunity to take advantage of.
Do you have an estimate of how much it costs? I mean, I'm sure it varies on region, but do you have an
Mm-hmm.
estimate of how much it costs them per lead?
I would say typically over $100, depending, which is a lot, I would say, but that's Google guaranteeing that, hey, this is a lead. If it was not a credible lead, they will actually refund your money. In some cases, maybe if the area is not as competitive, it could be $80 per lead. But the gutter industry in general is, so competitive that it's worth it as long as you're getting those credible leads. And if Google's willing to refund you at that point, I would take advantage of it if you can. It's just another way to generate leads. It's another funnel that you can create.
Is there a range of price on AdWords, what someone would pay per lead?
Yeah, so AdWords is a pay-per-click platform, so it really varies. That's where we get, if we're in South Florida per se, that market can be very competitive. So the cost per lead can be quite high. If we're in a rural area, it really just depends because what I will explain within Google AdWords is that there's a direct correlation between search volume and competition, which determines the cost. If there's low search volume and high competition, there's going to be a very high cost to advertise. But you can sort of work that in whatever variation your market is. But like you always preach, know your bottom line number. What is the bottom line I can be profitable with while I'm generating leads? You have to be able to generate those leads, but what is that bottom line number, right? So I always break down the numbers whenever I do a discovery call. I want to make sure I give you all the information to make an informed decision. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work. I can't pull a rabbit out of a hat, right? I'll give you the numbers, and then based on your average ticket price, based on the number of leads that you're looking to generate, if that makes sense, then we can continue on the strategy side of things. But with that being said, a lot of opportunity can be built from optimizations, right? If you can tell me your specific zip codes that, hey, these are very highly serving zip codes, there's new construction here, or, there's a lot of home improvement going on in this area, I've got a lot of jobs from this area, we can be hyper specific with any sort of advertising efforts. So the more in-depth information you can provide to us or any marketing company, the better they should be able to perform for you in regards to generating leads. That's where that communication comes into play. And that's why this partnership should be at the forefront of, being with any sort of marketing company.
So basically, like, if you're more strategic about it, you can make it pay off better. So if you're not just like, I'm doing everything, but you concentrate on these particular zip codes that you got $1 million homes, or they need a lot of gutters in those areas because your area, then you would just focus on those, and the
Mhm.
calls would probably pay off more, is what you're saying.
Right. Yeah. You can always cast a wide net, but do you have the budget to support that wide net is the biggest thing. Are you trying to get the most out of your budget? Then let's be hyper specific. Let's geo-target these areas to perform better for you. If we know you're converting better in this specific city per se, then let's hone in on that city. We should know and understand based on the data. But you also have to explain to us, we're not driving around your neighborhood. You are. So you understand that neighborhood much better than anyone else. We do the research, but the more information you provide, the more and the better we can actually perform. So just something to think about.
So when working with the SEO company, they're going to get better results if the communication line's there and they're communicating all these things to you guys.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what it comes down to the discovery call. That's why I exist. It's understanding, okay, what are the business needs? What's the highest serving to the business? Of course, with gutter companies, it's typically gutter installation, of course. But with that being said, specific products also come to mind. Even though there's less search volume, like we said, you wanted to hone in on that gutter or on that copper gutter market. And we did. And that's how you're actually able to generate those leads, and you start building that momentum. And now you're the go-to copper gutter guy. So it's all about, the more information we have to work with, the better we can serve you.
So I know Google is always changing their algorithms and changing things. Are there any changes recently that we probably don't know about that you're seeing behind the scenes?
Yeah, so that's actually a really good question. So Google just went through a core update in March, right? So we'll see a couple updates throughout the year. This one was pretty major, only because social media is going to have a huge play in your business moving forward, especially on Google, right? So that the way that the market's turning and the way that the algorithm is shifting is to actually prefer to showcase your social media content on the Google business profile. So what's going to start happening is you're going to make a social post on Facebook, and without a customer even having to go to your Facebook page, it's going to start populating on the business profile itself. So just something to keep in mind if you're thinking about expanding, your marketing efforts. Focus on organically posting on social media. I think it's going to be a huge benefit to SEO in the future. I think it's really going to be powerful stuff. So that should be the way that your mind's shifting for the rest of 2024.
What does that look like, it being on the business profile? Do they actually see the post that you make?
Yeah, so you'll actually see the post. You can actually do a search of this as well, so you can see more of an idea. It's hard for me to paint the picture, but you'll see the most recent posts that you've made, or so a lot of posts have gotten a lot of activity. Keep in mind, this is relatively new. I don't even think it's fully launched yet, but we're going to start seeing this sooner than later, so I'm sure there'll be variations. But what you can do now is you can actually attach the social page to the Google business profile, and that's how you're going to start to see these posts start displaying. So there's going to be an option when you're managing the business profile to add a social link. So go ahead and incorporate that social link, get ahead of the curve there, and that way you can start taking advantage of this SEO opportunity.
So they're not going to be able to take advantage of that without going in the profile, adding the link, so that way it's all interconnected.
Yep, and you want to make sure it's linked up anyways. If your business Facebook page isn't already linked up to the business profile, you're losing out on a citation there. It should be linked. But if you're not sure, just search up My Business on Google. You should be able to manage your specific profile, hit the edit button, and then go through the list and make sure that the social link is actually incorporated into the business profile itself.
I think that'll be really good, because I think a lot of people get discouraged with the organic posting, because it's like you do it, but it's not like your phone's blowing up because of it. It's not like, you do a paid ad and then you can bring in calls, but like the organic posting up until this point really hasn't done much. But
Yeah,
now
yes,
it's going to
yes.
help SEO.
Yeah. So it's like a give and pull type thing. It should be something that's part of your, monthly operations, whether you post once a week, whether you post twice a week, whether you have somebody managing your social media accounts, you should always consider that. But what I will say is never be discouraged just because you're not technically generating a lead from a social post. You're still getting eyeballs, you're still spreading brand awareness. And now you're going to have that added benefit of being, displayed on Google. So the businesses that are more active on social media are going to have that competitive edge moving forward.
How many times should someone post on social media for their business?
Yeah, so it all depends. What I would say is at least once a week. If you're posting once a week, I would say quality over quantity. At least you're remaining active. Google can see actually if you're remaining active on places like Facebook. Now you could really see that they can see that. So they tend to prefer to showcase companies that are more active, more engaged, because they're more likely to provide a better experience to the customer. They're doing everything that they can to maximize their exposure online, and Google tends to, reward those efforts.
So
So
would a day be too much, or that would be sufficient? If
once
someone
a
wanted
day
to
would
be
be
a little more
great.
aggressive.
If you can make a social post once a day, I do commend you. That takes a lot of effort because there's thought that goes into this social post. You can't be posting the same image multiple times, right? So you also have to have the content side of things. What I will explain to you guys is that you should be incorporating videos as much as possible because they're going to have much more engagement. Also, focus on posting reels. Reels tend to reach a wider audience, and also collaborating on social media cohesively exposes both brands, so you get both target audiences. So if you can collaborate with a local company in the area, or let's just say a charity that you work with, whatever you can just to get more traction, get more eyeballs, and you're helping each other out in that sense. You should be growing together.
When they make these videos, I don't know if this is true, but I think I heard something about it. Should they be mentioning the city that they're in? Does it pick that up?
Yeah, so video SEO, that's a really in-depth question. So like I explained previously, right? if you have a YouTube page for your business, that's a citation. Google owns YouTube, right? So if we're posting videos using keywords in those videos, let's just say I'm doing a gutter installation in this area. If the video is tied to that in the description, and then you put that onto your website, so that's a backlink, and then you showcase that video on the website, you just incorporated a backlink, you've incorporated another citation, and now you have improved SEO efforts. So do not sleep on creating a YouTube page for the business and creating content. The way that the future is moving is through content and engagement. As you know, a lot of these, as the younger generation gets older, they find most of their information through social media. So you have to be ahead of that curve in order to fully take advantage, because it's similar with SEO. If you're just getting started now, you're starting behind the curve. A lot of people have been investing for many years, so you might have to have a more aggressive strategy. So yeah, it's all about that perspective and knowing where the future's headed.
What is a citation? Because I hear that and I think like I'm getting a
Yep.
ticket or something.
Right, yeah, of course. So a local citation is anywhere that your business is listed. If you think of it like a term paper, you do research, you have citations, right? So it's anywhere that your business is listed. So you want to make sure that you're on Yellow Pages, you're on Yelp, you're on Home Advisor, but a citation needs to be accurate. So you have to have, if you have a business address, and let's just say it's the word terrace on your Google business page, and it's the full word, right, within the address. If you have an abbreviation in any one of these other citations, you lose slight credibility there because it's not exactly the same. It's an algorithm pulling this data, not a human eye. So it can't really notice the differences, which is why having a professional SEO company, you get that added benefit of managing local citations. That's just something that we do. Most SEO companies should be doing that for you. But that's a great question to ask if you're not too familiar with SEO is, hey, do you optimize my local citations?
That might be a good question for them to ask when they're interviewing their website company.
Right. Yeah. Well, in regards to SEO, that's more that standpoint because you're optimizing your presence online. So a lot of companies may say, hey, we're going to incorporate, an SEO strategy within your website build. But I would steer clear of that conversation unless you really know what you're getting, because typically it's just website management and there's not much SEO going on. There's a lot of in-depth work in regards to SEO. If it seems too good to be true, it likely is.
Yeah, so I mean, we established they need to post more, but what if they don't know what to post? What are some ideas? Like, what could someone post once a week?
Yeah. So we're very heavy in the content game. We like to have fun. People will resonate if you're having a good time making these videos. They're going to understand. They could tell if, your workers are happy, if you're walking around a job site, if you're messing around, cracking a joke. People like to see a friendly face. So they're going to react better to, genuine posts. What interests you? Because it's likely also going to interest your customers. Be informative. If you're doing, a gutter guard installation, really showcase the difference of what happens when you have a gutter guard on versus what you don't. If you can create a video comparing those two, that's great content. You're engaging your audience, you're being informative. So I would say anything that resonates with your audience, anything that's informing the customer. Like I said, it should be quality over quantity. So once a week would be a great goal, but if anything less than that, I would say try to focus once a week, just to get as much content out there as you can to get more exposure.
Good deal. That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
So if there's like one piece of advice that you could give the gutter guys with their SEO or marketing or just marketing in general, what would that one thing be that sticks out to you?
Yeah, so my word of advice to everybody is build a solid foundation. Have an online presence that you're proud of, have a website that you're proud of, understand the ins and outs. Is it mobile friendly? What does the content look like? I mean, I'm sure a lot of these guys don't ever even navigate to their website often. So just take a step back, put yourself in the customer's shoes, understand what they might want to see, and then try to pivot based on that. If you put yourself in the shoes of the customer and understand the buying journey, I think you could really have improved results overall in regards to marketing, in regards to how you do business. So I think it's all about putting yourself in the customer's shoes and understand what they're looking for. I think that's the best piece of advice. Understand that if you're working with a marketing company, it should be a partnership and not just somebody that you hire. I think that's another good piece of advice. And understand your market as well. Understand what's tangible, what's things that are in your control, what's things that are out of your control. With that being said, I think the sky's the limit for a lot of these guys. It's just all about finding the right next steps to take.
But definitely, there's so many people without websites, and it's so important to me. It's like the most important thing to do.
It's step number one, and I cannot emphasize that enough. It's step number one. Build a website that you're proud of. Build a website that you own. It should be a digital asset, not something that you're leasing from a company. Invest in growing your online presence organically before we just dive into all these paid advertising efforts. Be cost effective. So grow the business by taking the proper steps. Learning from people that have done it previously, which is why I think it's so great that you and Grant do this podcast, because you guys have seen the ins and outs in the industry and really understand what it takes to be great. So I really always appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. It's always a pleasure. With that being said,
definitely had a great time. I think it was very informative, and if they want to reach out to you and maybe want to do some SEO work, need a website, what's the best way to reach you?
So you can reach out to me directly. My email is jacob@mrpipeline.com, or you can go to our website, mrpipeline.com. You can see there's actually a discovery call option. We want to make sure we're a good fit for each other. So in the market, and this strategy has to make sense. So I do encourage you just to, open that conversation, at least take the time to speak with us. We'll figure out, okay, what's working, what needs improvement. If we can't even work together, I'll still put you in the right direction. So I'm here to help you. That's the biggest thing that you should take away with any sort of conversation that we'll have together.
Appreciate it, Jacob.
Appreciate it.
Coming on.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks.